Hey, what's up, Unbroken Nation?
I constantly think about this idea of creating myself. I leverage that in the very same way you went to that mirror and you said, I am creating this ant. This is the person that I'm going to be. And you leveraged that idea and stepped into it. Where was fear? What kind of role did fear play in your life? Because look, I get it.
Mhm.
Like the nicknames, the kids picking on you, the being
Yeah.
bullied, even when you're in there trying the fucking hardest, there's always somebody to shit on you.
Mhm.
How do you combat the fear of the person that you were? And not only then, but even now, how do you combat the fear of this shadow self always wanting to be like, Anthony, you're not good enough, and transferring that into like, I'm going to do this anyway? What is that like for you?
The conversation doesn't get had that much anymore. Before, it's a natural one. And I believe that as you get higher on the totem pole, there's always got to be a fear falling off. It's just a natural part of it. The way that I look at it is this: there's this cool TV show I used to watch years ago called American Gladiator. Remember that show at all?
Yep,
Yeah,
100%.
love that show.
Laser,
And
blazer, taser.
I know, yeah, one of the guys on there, Dan Nitro. I know Nitro is a good dude, man. Me and him chat every once in a while. Nitro, Dan Nitro, whatever. I can't think. He was Nitro. Anyway, so there's a cool part at the very end when they have to race up that whole mountain to get to the top, hit the buzzer. And this is where I look at fear. There's usually a fear of something chasing us. It's the fear of failure chasing us. It's the fear of somebody outing us for something we did in the past, right? It's a fear of failing. And what happens is it's think of it this way: when you're the guy in front, boom, buzzer goes off, you take off, you're sprinting up that mountain, you're climbing, and then second buzzer goes off, boom, Nitro's chasing you, right? What happens is you're climbing that mountain and you can have a good tick. But here's what takes place for a lot of people. If you watch, I'm genuinely watch the show. Here's what takes place. They're climbing, and as they're climbing, they do this thing where they stop and look down. And here's what's crazy. The gladiator of fear, they're looking up at you and climbing, no stopping, no hiccup. They're just moving, right? When you take a second to look down at it, you stop your pace. You give it an opportunity to catch up to you. And they would get that ankle, yank them off. The ones who won, they almost never looked down. Almost ever. I watched a couple times and I was thinking, I want to go back and look at some things. Like, did it happen? They're climbing and they just kept going. They could hear them, they just kept going. I'm talking the glider just almost gets the ankle and taps the, just keep going. Boom, hit the buzzer. And it wasn't anything more than they just didn't stop and look. Because if any of them would have stopped for a second and looked, they're pulled off. So when you ask, like, how do I navigate the fear? I've realized it's always there. I can sense it. I feel it at my heels, but I don't ever take moments to stop and look down at it because it grabs me. So if people are living like, how do I live my life in a progressive state, man? Stop looking back at it. If it gets you, hey, it got you. Cool. Go do it again. But don't give it the opportunity by slowing down and looking at it.
Yeah, it's powerful. It's powerful. It's so true. It's so true because we get to choose how we live our life. And if you're constantly seeking fear, I look at it as looking for an excuse. There's always a reason for you not to be successful. But I
Yeah.
want to keep tapping in your story because I think we're getting to this place that's really, really important.
Mhm.
So you're moving forward, next year high school football, crushing it. You're the
Killing it.
dude.
Yeah.
What next? What's
What
going on?
well, now I'm trying to figure out how to become like the guy that I got moved from, sophomore year. And so freshman year I suck. Sophomore year I'm supposed to suck too, but sophomore year I'm balling. So I get moved to varsity. And I'm not very good at varsity. They put me at cornerback and I'm slow. Like, I'm not a cornerback, bro. Like, at that age, I was slow. And so I'm trying to figure out this whole world of, sports, but at the same time, I got a mom who's getting more sick. I got a brother who's off in the military. So it's kind of like just me at the house. Like, I was close to him and the rest of the siblings I kind of was, but just, it's the older brother, man. He was like my dude. At the same time, trying to navigate the whole girl situation. There's girls that like you now and you're, dude, it's a tornado. I don't know who I am. In fact, at that age, if you go to Eric Erickson's psychosocial, structures, it breaks down to where at that moment I'm having what's called role versus identity confusion. Sorry, identity versus role confusion. So identity is like, usually you enter into life with having who you are anchored, and then you have a role confusion. Who am I in the real world, in my career, in my, education? Who am I in my job, right? Now, most people have a good sense of who they are. Their mom and dad raised them right. They got a base of confidence and stability and honor and integrity. They know who they are. Well, most people have that. I didn't. I didn't know who the hell I was. Like, I'm trying to figure out this world. My mom is sick, so my dad's taking care of her. I got nobody really watching what I'm doing, bro. I could come in and go whenever I wanted. I didn't really. I mean, what am I did, the most I had was a job as a janitor. I was like, had to keep me structured. I could run around with whatever girls I wanted. I had a job that gave me enough money to get a little car. I'm driving a car around, but I could have gotten in so much trouble. In fact, I did. At 17 years old, I got arrested for breaking into cars with doing some dumb stuff with some kids I didn't belong out doing, right? So what it ended up being was a situation where, man, I had to like navigate this new weird world, find out who the hell I was, because the world was coming at me fast. And in football, the greatest part was when I got better, when you get better at something that you sucked at, it's like this thing of when you first try something, it's a 10 of pain. You don't want to try it again because you don't want to be exposed to the pain of it. So you don't do it. You walk away, you make an excuse, you try something else. The next thing's a 10 of pain too. Shiny object syndrome happens. But here's what you should do. What I did, what everybody should do, and that anybody who's been successful has done. They try it again. They learned something the first time, they apply it again. Doesn't mean it's going to be a 0, it's going to be a 9. 9 still hurts, man. Like 9 is very uncomfortable. So I tried again. It's an 8, then a 7, then a 6. And eventually, if you stay long enough and you keep getting back up, it goes to 0, but it's not 0. It's joy. This thing you hated doing, you love. You can't wait to do more of it, right? And so what happens is for me, when I got to that journey of 10, 9, 8, and I had joy out there balling, I anchored myself to something that gave me more than anything else other things could give me. So when I'm trying to find out who am I as I enter this whole new world of a role confusion, I'm the football player. I had that one thing that honestly saved me, because had I entered that next level of life without being the football player, I literally had nothing else.
Yeah.
And that's how you see people end up as statistics. So football saved me, dude, just out of sheer aspect of being present in that thing and giving me a sense of self.